folks, this is the 3-star ATK cylinder as I'm going to try and pick. I'm using the Z wrench and 2 of the hooks from the Lockpicking Lawyers Covert Instruments Genesis lock pit set. They seem to be quite effective on this cylinder. I've picked it already and I'm going to try and do it again. But I know that the first binding pin is pin 6 at the back, so I'm going to try and set that first. It's a tricky getting on top of it, to be honest. But once I'm there, if I set that pin first, there, okay. The way this lock is configured is there's quite a high lift pin at the back there, and then the next pin in is a much lower lift, almost like a guard pin for that. So let's just work our way back out the lock. There's pin 1, pin 2, 1, 2. Let's go to pin 3, which is another deep pin. So we'll try and set that now. There we go. That's pin 3. Nice click out of that one. So we've set pin 6. We've set pin 3. Let's try and set pin 1. That's not ready to go yet. Now I'm going to use the medium hook now from the Genesis set to set the pins in front of those ones I've just set. Okay. Everything's feeling loose in here at the moment. There we go. So there's a really nice click there, and there's a bit of rotation on that core. Let's just see if we've got anything here at the front of the lock. Pin 1. Nice click on pin 1. 2 is set. Pin 3 is set. 4, 5, and back. So I'm going to swap over to the deep hook now. Let's just check that pin at the back is set. It is. Pin 5, pin 4, 6, 5, 4. There's pin 3. That's set. Pin 2, pin 1 is set. Okay, so what's holding us up here? Something is holding us up. So far, only a little rotation on that core. No full set, so to speak. So I have not felt any spools. Or any security pins so far. They all feel like standard pins. Okay, that's a nice click there. Even more rotation on the core. Let's go back in. See if we can work out what it is that's holding us up. Another nice click there. That was pin 4. Pin 5. Pin 4. 3. Pin 1. 2, nice click on pin 2. We must be pretty close to getting this open now, I would hope. Let's go back with the deeper hook. Let's go to the back of the lock. Pin 6 is still set. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go, we've got it open. So now, those of you that know this lock will now know there's a set of trap pins that lie roughly at that angle on the cylinder, and if I turn this any further, it's going to get stuck in those trap pins, and then as the cylinder rotates round, the top of the keyway here will have a set of trap pins here, and then finally the trap pins on the other side will come into place. So there's effectively 4 lots of trap pins. So the cylinder's picked. Never mind, we can soon pick that out of those trap pins. Let's get a city rake, and what I'm going to do is try and hit all 3 trap pins at the same time with the rake, like that. There we go. So we're out of the first set of trap pins. Now when this cylinder comes round now, it's going to drop into the trap pins again at this position. Let's do that. Now normally if you had a cut down key, you would be able to get past that. But what I've found is if I take this pick, probe, knife, whatever it's called, from the Andrew Law lock set, if I put that in flat, then it simulates the back of a key. Let's put something in to turn the cylinder. So let's just pop that in there. If we put that in flat, that should depress all of those trap pins. There we go. And we're past the first set. Key pins, those pins have dropped. Let's just get those out of there. There we go. And we'll get stuck in that set there. Put this back in again, nice and flat. Give it a wiggle. There we go. Let's pass those. And then we've got one more set of trap pins, which are here. Nope. Okay, so we've got to pick out of that again. Put the city rake in. Just manipulate this. There we go, and that's a full 360 turn on the ATK 3-star cylinder. So a pick and a turn. It wasn't easy, but it is possible. I have walked away from these before for fear of these trap pins, but I'm pretty certain next time I come up against these in a lock, I feel a lot more confident now about picking and rotating the cylinder without it getting, or rotating the core without it getting caught in those trap pins and being in a complete mess. Right, well, welcome back. This is the carnage of what was once a 3-star ATK cylinder. Obviously it's apart now. It's certainly not going to go back together again, but it's a good view of what was actually inside this particular lock. So the core itself, like a little step. So obviously that's going to be giving you the impression that you've picked a pin, but you haven't quite picked it. Also in this core there's anti-drill pins, steel anti-drill pins in the side. There's 2 of those. And then looking at the key pins themselves, you've got a brass, and then you've got 3 steel key pins at the back of the lock. And then if you look at the driver pins, you've got a standard, you've got a spool, you've got another spool pin, you've got an anti-drill, and a standard pin. These 2 pins here were basically what held this to the main lock body or the main cylinder. Springs, you've got 5 standard looking springs, and then you've got a different spring at the back of the lock, which is obviously an anti-bump measure. It's going to offer different resistance to a bump key. And then inside, 3 on this side, 3 on that side, are these very small looking trap pins. I'll give you a close-up of those. And then the rest of this mess that you've got here is basically the mechanism that anti-snap mechanism that puts the cylinder into a lockdown condition when the core is pulled out or snapped. And basically you have this spring-loaded pin here that sits on the back of the core, like so. And then when the key is inserted, it pushes that plunger forward, and then obviously takes authority of the cam in the lock. You take the key out, because this has got a thumb turn on it, then with this pin retracted, the thumb turn then obviously has authority over the lock. And then this sits inside the cam mechanism, and you can see the pin sticking out here at the back of that cam mechanism. And then when you put the key in, you can see that protrudes forward and takes authority of the cam. And what that's pushing against is this little mechanism, which lives inside here. And that's got a spring pin on the top, and that's the spring pin that puts this cylinder into lockdown when the core is removed or snapped out the front. And so under normal circumstances, that sits there, and as you can see, the pin doesn't reach the hole under any circumstances unless this core is removed, and there we go, this pin fires and traps that cam and makes it impossible to actually drive that cam from the front. It's in full lockdown mode. And then all of the rest of this gubbins, these bits here, were all from inside the thumb turn side, because when the cylinder's in lockdown, you can push the thumb turn in, which in turn takes authority of the cam. You can see there's a hole there. That hole there is where that pin fires through and locks down the cam. And when you push this through, it disables that and enables you to operate the lock from the inside. So quite a clever mechanism, lots of parts to it. There's all sorts of bits like this pin that goes down inside there. That's surrounded by these brass inserts with springs. Heaven knows what they all do, but they all conspire to be able to allow you to unlock this when the lockdown pin has fired into the cam. You can still obviously open it from the inside. And then here you can see the hardened steel core between the two front and back of the lock, and that is obviously not going to snap under any conditions. It's really quite hard. So all in all, a lot in that lock, but as you can see, it didn't offer a huge amount of pick resistance, and there's not a lot really. There's not a lot of security pins in there, making it not the hardest pick going. So so yeah, that's what's inside the ATK 3-star cylinder.